to episode 3 of the Michael Pell Podcast, where we have a very special guest sitting on my right-hand side. And the fact that it's episode 3 is actually quite pertinent because he played in 3 premierships, 01, 02, 03 for the Brisbane Lions. He's a man that needs no introduction at all, but for those of you watching and listening who are not mad on the AFL, I'll give you a little bit here. He was drafted at number 31 in 1997 from the East Fremantle Football Club in WA. He played 322 games for the mighty Brisbane Lions over 16 seasons. Premiership player 01, 02, 03. Brownlow Medalist 2002. Norm Smith Medal 2003. 3-time All-Australian. 3-time fairest and best for the Lions. Brisbane Lions captain. AFL Hall of Famer. The list goes on. Welcome, Mr. Simon Black.
G'day, Pelly. Great to be with you, mate.
Mate, thanks very much for coming on. Look, we've got so much to talk about today. A very interesting man that you are, and what a story it's been, and I really want to delve into that. But who would have thought 22, 23 years ago, Blackie, when we first met playing underage footy in Perth, that we'd be sitting in Burleigh on a Friday morning doing a podcast? Hey?
Unreal, isn't it, mate?
It
Unreal,
is.
I know. We've got a bit of history together, you and I, our junior footy days in WA, and we've had a bit of a joint paths across now and again over the years.
Yes.
But we had some great junior footy days together.
I'd like to think I've got a few things in common with Simon Black, namely being a left footer, and we're both born on the 3rd of the 4th, 79, but I think from our footy career, that's about where it ends. But Blackie, since you got drafted in 1997, what has life been like for you, mate?
Well, I was going to say that laser left footy, yours. You taught me everything I knew, mate.
Thank you, Blackie. I'll take that. It's recording, isn't it? Yeah.
Early days. Sorry, mate.
What's life been like since getting drafted? I mean, would have been a bit of a shock. You're a WA boy for all intents and purposes over there. We'll talk about you being born somewhere else. But you got drafted to Brisbane. How did you feel when Brisbane read your name out? And then the thought of the family moving over, all of that. Take us through how you were feeling as a 17, 18-year-old.
Yes, it's amazing at the moment. It does feel like yesterday that we were playing for your Clermont. I was at East Fremantle. And we played Till Cup or National Carnival together as 18-year-olds. And look, I mean, I really was one of those kids that didn't think he was going to get drafted in 97, literally until probably a month out from the draft.
Wow.
I really didn't. I mean, I was sort of a bit slow, and I was a skinny kid, and it wasn't until we had that National Carnival in Melbourne in 97. And
that's when the club started talking to you, was it?
Yeah. I mean, I did okay at the carnival and started a bit of interest grew. But and even to be honest, when I got drafted, I thought I was always a bit of a self-doubter as a young bloke, and thought you get 2 years when you get drafted.
Yeah.
I thought I'd get the 2 years. I'd be rapt to play a handful of games and get sent on my way back to East Fremantle, and that was sort of my lack of self-belief at that time.
Yes.
And
Yes.
and I mean, I only played 2 games of league footy off the bench in that year before I got drafted.
So you've actually only played 2 waffle games?
Yeah. I played a lot of college footy, a lot of reserves, and I was so skinny. I was such a skinny kid, and it turned out when I got drafted the next year, first year at the Lions in 98, I played the first 6 games purely because we had so many senior blokes injured.
Right.
Got drafted with Lukey Power, Shane O'Brien, Bo McDonald, a fellow Perth lad.
Yeah.
Who
the big ruckman.
The big ruckman, big bozo. Yeah. So I was very lucky, to play early on. But mate, my early days, my foundation in WA, I was so fortunate to play at East Fremantle with some great guys who threw that era together.
Yeah.
And you, mate, you was obviously at Clermont as well, and they were great days.
East Freo was it churned out a lot of great footballers, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. Started probably with Benny Cousins in that early couple of years before me, and the Carr boys and Tuck and Lockyer and Phil Reid and
the list goes on, doesn't it?
It's quite a few of us. Yeah.
And so Blackie, you came over to Brisbane, and just while we're on that, we'll claim you. Us sand gropers will claim you as a West Australian, but you're actually born in Queensland, Blackie.
Yeah, well, mate, I classify myself even today as WA as Rottnest Island, mate.
Good, we'll take that. Raft Up 2009.
Raft Up days. Oh, mate.
They were fun.
A few stories there.
Yeah.
No, I was born in Mount Isa, but I didn't spend long in Queensland. Mum and Dad were up and down the coast of travelling around, and I got born in Mount Isa, but grew up in Perth from a very young age, and as you know, that those adolescent years or those, where you grow up.
Yeah, that's your formative years, isn't it?
Formative years, yeah. So I still classify myself, even though I've been in Queensland longer than WA as a West Aussie. And
yes.
And my mum's back there and my brother. And so
if they were doing State of Origin, Blackie, you'd be in the WA team, mate.
I'd be
you'd be the first one picked.
The Black Swan.
That's right. So when you got drafted to Brisbane, like where did they have you living? How did you settle in? What were the first few years like?
Yeah, probably. I lived with a family when I first came across. Well, an older couple.
Yeah,
their kids had moved out of home, and that was great for me. I was pretty well looked after by mum and dad in Perth, and to come over here and get mate, to get your washing done for you, and to get your cooking and cleaning done was
it's like in a hotel but in a house.
Yeah, it was a great transition, mate. And you get home and you're trying to your first few pre-seasons, it's like you're absolutely busted when you walk through the door and to have a meal made for you and all that. So, I live with a family, the Monsons, John and Judy Monson. They were beautiful people. Great. And that was the sort of first 12 or 18 months for me. And before moving out with actually my high school girlfriend at the time.
Yep.
And the Monsons were great the first 12 months.
Beautiful. And Blackie, I caught up with your beautiful family this morning when we jumped in the car to come down. Lovely wife Catherine, kids Lachlan, Lucas and Evie. Tell us how that all began in terms of meeting Catherine. Where was it? Can you remember? Take us through that day or night.
Yeah, so she was working as a receptionist at the physiotherapy clinic that all the players used to go to, and so I'd walk in there and I'd see her, Catherine, with the lovely blue eyes, Mickey.
Beautiful.
And, I thought, she's quite nice, isn't she? And she didn't give me much, Mickey. I tried quite hard early. And she just sort of was a little bit, wasn't frosty, but it wasn't much.
Yeah,
much
you weren't
back.
Getting much.
And I sort of got a bit of a feel that a couple of the boys were kind of maybe interested as well. Right. And so I thought, I'd better move pretty quick here. And so I didn't have much of a rapport with her to, ask her straight out. I didn't feel. So I sort of, my tackle was, Kath, you know all the boys, they come in here and get physio treatment. Do you want to come watch us all play on Saturday night? And
you read the play well there, Blackie.
Yeah, I first mover advantage, I thought, so I had to get in. And so I got her a ticket to the footy, and she was friends with one of the other guys' girlfriends, and Clark Keating. And so she came along, and I knew I had to sort of play well that night. I thought,
wow,
pressure's on here, Mick. I better get a kick.
Yeah.
But and then earlier that week, I said, how about dinner this week? And so
well done, mate. Well played. The rest is history.
Yeah.
And beautiful family that you have, mate.
Very smooth, wasn't it? Yeah. So very fortunate to have three beautiful children.
Yeah. Now, Blackie, you of course played in one of the most successful eras they've been in AFL, VFL history, the Brisbane Lions era of 01, 02, 03. What was that like? If you take yourself back to those years, hugely successful for you as a person, but more so from a team point of view as well. What was it like? It was putting Brisbane back on the map after the merger with Fitzroy, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was an amazing era to be a part of, Mick. I mean, to look back and, I wanted to stay in Perth and play for West Coast All Freo. And so, in hindsight, to get the opportunity to come to a great club and play under Lee Matthews and be a part of that playing group, I was just incredibly fortunate. I was pinching myself, and at the time you realise it's special, but in reflection you don't realise until post your playing days just how great a team and opportunity I had at that time, mate. I was incredibly fortunate, and just the side that we had, and as I said, being coached by Lee. But Lee had many great sayings. Lee was such a great football coach, but he was a life coach, and some of the one-liners and things that he had that we had. We were taught by him.
Great learning as a young fella, hey?
Yeah. And I was quite young. I'm sort of early 20s during those flag days. But, it was just incredibly privileged to play on that side. Be able to play with guys like Michael Voss and Jonathan Brown and some real tough players. And we're very, very...
some guys that you'd want to go to war with, wouldn't you?
You would. That's a good term. Yeah, you would. You're just a real brotherhood, and I think that the great sides have that brotherhood feel about them. They literally would go in the trenches together with them, with each other, and that's why, as you know, footy's so special because you're with a bunch of guys that are really committed to working hard together.
Yes.
Not willing to take shortcuts, not wanting to let each other down. And when you've got a bit of talent in the group as well, on top of that, then that's when something really special can be created, and that's what our Lions side was about.
And that was the recipe. I mean, I just think of it, Brown and Voss in terms of hardness. I mean, and then Lethal as your coach. Could you have actually been surrounded by any harder people, really? I mean, those three, I mean, Lethal was probably a bit before our time playing, but we see the snippets of him and they say he's probably one of the best ever. But then Voss and Brown on the field, some of their courageous acts and the courage they showed was amazing, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was. And we had those sort of players all over, that intimidation factor, and I was probably... A few of us have just complimented some of those harder blokes.
Some of us had to run the hard, Blackie, and you did that, mate.
Had to, but yeah, we had some just attributes of hardness and skill, and it was a great mixture of across the board.
And we talk about the big name players there that are obvious, and we'll talk about Ackermanis and maybe Lappin in a minute. But had a question from one of my mates during the week who knew I was going to have you on the podcast. He said to ask you who was harder, Chris or Brad Scott. They were both pretty hard, weren't they?
On or off the field. I reckon Chris was better enjoyed a beer in the nightlife. Actually, a few times Scotty would come in on a Monday morning with a big black shiner on his eye for
Chris?
For pub fighting.
There you go.
He'd often come in for a shiner. And the great thing in Brisbane is we'd enjoy a beer up here and no one really knew who we were.
How good.
And we'd come in and or we'd go out and have a fair bit of fun, and there's probably a fair bit of stuff that if you're in Victoria or WA or South Australia that you would have made the headlines.
Of course. You were relative anonymity up here in a way, weren't you?
Yeah, well, I mean, the Broncos are obviously massive, and we had that era of success. So, we managed to get in the front page or the back page of the paper and also now and again, but it was all about even the Broncos are going 10th. It was all about them. So that's got its positives.
It does have its positives.
You can not get away, but you can have a bit more of a life.
Yes, than the fishbowl of like Perth that Cuzzy etc. have experienced over the years. Yeah, well, and Victoria.
Yeah. Obviously, to go to extreme,
of course.
But you're right. Like I mean, what those guys in the West and. That's a fishbowl lifestyle, which I imagine would be incredibly difficult to live under sometimes. Yeah,
definitely. And look, we talk about Brown and Voss, but Ackermanis, he's a character, and Nigel Lappin, those two were hard-running and very, very talented players. They were part of that Fab Four. What was Acker like and what was Lappin like to play with?
Acker, mate, Acker's is obviously a different cat, but I always say Acker, he for a non-footy state in town like Brisbane, Pally, he the way he grew and promoted the game
was great.
It was great for the game up here. Fantastic for us. He's not without his challenges, and Lee and him. Lee, if you're in a bit of strife, you go and have coffee with Lee, and Acker drank a lot of coffee with Lee.
Rightio.
A lot of coffee together.
I could probably, not knowing either of them, but you probably see that those two personalities probably aren't the best match, but it worked for that period. Because Acker played his role, didn't he?
Mate, he did. And, I did 1,000 handstands after a game, and he used to love that. And but he had flair, and we needed flair in Queensland in that time. He promoted the game wonderfully well. And Nigel Lappin, I reckon, is one of the most underrated footballers of any generation. Really, he had great flair, enormously skilled, and incredibly tough. Yeah, he was as brave as.
He's an old Victorian too.
Yeah, he's from Chiltern, and just a great character, Nigel.
You had almost the perfect mix there for the wins in 01, 02, 03, Blackie. Another question from the forum. What did Lee say in the lift after you'd won the 3 flags? Apparently Lepich was in the lift too. I don't know. This is not a loaded question. I don't know the answer, but it's a question I've been asked to ask you.
Yeah. I think we must have won the 3rd, and we got stuck in a lift coming down to go to a function. And I was like, get back. We've just won the flag in the bus, boys. You got 10 minutes to go and get changed. Get back in the bus to the Crown Casino for a function. And there's about 12 or 15 of us in the elevator. Must have been too many, and the elevator got stuck. And so there was a case of Crown Lager. So we all got beers in the hands, and everyone's obviously pretty jovial. And Lepper goes to Lee, who was in the elevator too. He said, "Lee, mate," he goes, "you would be nothing without us, nothing." And Lee turns to him and goes, "Mate, I just be the greatest player of all time.
Oh, how good is that?
That's all I'd be, wouldn't I?
Yeah.
So put Let back in his box pretty quick. So
Put him straight back in his box.
It was a good line.
And the final question from the forum: who had the better leap, Jared Brennan or Daryl White? It's a good question.
It's a random one, yeah. I'm going Daryl White. He was the most freakish talent I just about played with.
He wasn't that tall, was he?
No, he wasn't. He loves his basketball, and his boys actually have got enormous talent to the point where there's a bit of talk about them maybe potentially making the NBA gun basketballs, but they're overseas in Europe playing at the moment, I think. But he was a freakish talent.
He was a freak, yeah. And Blackie, we've talked enough about the footy career, which was an amazing one. Post footy, what's been happening for Simon Black? We saw you in Survivor a couple of years ago. What was that like, mate? It was 42 days you were there.
Didn't hear a lot of me. Flew under the radar a fair bit, Mickey. But
interesting experience.
I loved it, mate. Yeah, absolutely loved it. It's just to go and live on a beach. It's shot in Fiji. On an island in Fiji, and to live on an island, building your own shelter, living off rations of rice and beans, living around a fire. Got to keep the fire going. If no fire, no food, because you got to obviously cook your rice.
Yeah.
So and also the challenges that you get to do, the physical challenges that they make. I think there's like 100 carpenters that design and make these structures. It's a privilege to be able to partake in those challenges. So I absolutely loved it.
Meet some good people.
Meet some great people that I'm still really good friends with today, and being able to, I guess, like the nature of Survivor is a bit of skullduggery and lying and cheating,
tactics,
all that, the strategy elements. But you can't play that. You've got to form genuine relationships, and that was my take on the game. Australia trying to form genuine relationships to build trust and do what you say you're going to do to a point, but you learn so much, mate. You learn so much about yourself.
Yeah.
Like when you're depleted of food and sleep.
Yeah. You're desperate.
When you're so hungry and you get hangry, or is that the term?
Yeah.
So I learned a lot about. Like day 5, I remember, like you lose weight real quick, and then you sort of plateau for a little bit, and then you decline again after that. But I remember day 5 sitting on the beach and just having a full. Like, I had to walk away from camp, God, I'm really struggling here.
Yeah.
I reckon I've dropped 6 kilos in 5 days. Hadn't had any, just had rice for 6 days.
So it was as hard or harder than any pre-season camp you've done before?
Yeah, well, I mean, footy.
It's different hardness.
Pre-season sort of, what is it? You do hard sessions for a few hours and then
big feed and a big sleep.
Yeah, you're pretty well looked after. You're pretty well kept. So to have that grind day in, day out. But anyway, after 5 or 6 days, you have a bit of a mental meltdown, and then you regroup, you find a way to go again, and I loved it. No mobile phones, no technology.
Yeah.
That's a real, like, everyone.
Say goodbye to the family and say to them, I'm going, Dad's going, and we don't know quite how long he's going for, right?
Yeah, of course, that's part of it too. You have, I had 8 weeks away from the family.
It's a long time.
A long time with the young kids, mate. It is, a really long time. But just the privilege of being able to be a part of a group like that, even though they're trying to knife you at some point.
Yeah, still great memories and a lot of fun.
I'd do it again tomorrow. Yeah, loved it, mate. Loved the experience of it.
And Blackie, the Simon Black Football Academy, a few of us have heard a fair bit about it, but for people that don't know what it is and what it does, can you explain what it is?
Yeah, so it's an education program first and foremost, mixed with a football program and personal development workshops we do around that as well. So we've partnered with Torrens University, and we provide a first year for our students, which it's school leaver age bracket, being a partner with the university. Our students can do a diploma in their first year, or then run into a Bachelor of Business and Sports Management in the second and third years. Yeah, so we've got a great partner. It's fantastic ability for our school leaver age bracket students to come in and better themselves, get a really quality qualification whilst bettering themselves in a football aspect and an athletic all-round aspect athletically, do strength programs and conditioning. And
I'm sure it's probably relatable to all areas of life. It's not like you have to just love footy to want to be a part of it, right?
Yeah, it is for males and females, and we've got our own capabilities and passions for the game and coaching as well. And we're really big on, so we provide our coach mentors are ex-AFL background, males and females. We've got Gary O'Donnell, ex-Essendon captain in Perth, along with Kelly Gibson over there. West Coast player, and Richard Douglas in Adelaide.
Yeah, Mickey Barlow was helping you out as well, isn't he?
Great, Mickey Barlow, yeah, he does a wonderful job for us. He's a great man in Melbourne. Brooke Lachlan helps him, Bulldogs AFLW player. So yeah, we like to give really good mentors and coaches to our students. So it's we're about 5 years in. Really enjoying working with young people, and we do some workshops around leadership and nutrition and goal setting, the importance of that, and just try to make it a rounded approach.
Because Blackie, I know when I was 17, a lot of kids leaving school not knowing exactly what they want to do or going straight into uni to do that, this might be perfect for them potentially, mightn't it?
Well, it's funny, a lot of people our age or mates said, I wish that was around when I left school. Whether it's not knowing exactly what I want to do with myself or have a real passion for footy, want to take their game to a new level, I guess. And just having really good quality, that's what I wanted to give the students, really quality mentors day in, day out, who have had a great experience in an elite a professional environment in the AFL, but have genuine care for developing young people. And that's, I feel like it was yesterday, I was 17 or 18, walking out of school and sort of having, not a lot of understanding of what I wanted to do. Been having some, I was privileged having some great mentors. So part of the program is passion is provide those great mentors for our students. And
the students themselves, did you say HEX covers it? Is it?
Yeah, because we're a university program, it's all covered by HEX, yes.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing, and that's Australia-wide. And where do you see it going, Blackie? That's the future. You're going to really build up that up with Torrens?
Yeah, it is. For us, it's all around. COVID's made it a challenge last year. As I said, we're 4 years now in with Torrens University. We just got to create awareness in the community. We're still trying to build the business and the awareness out there. I really believe in it and really passionate about it. Got some great people involved. So just trying to grow it.
Yeah, beautiful. And Blackie, did you ever think of moving back to your footy career a little bit early on? You said did you ever think of moving back to WA or not? Or like when you started at the Lions, when you're playing and you got underway, did you ever think of a move back to a West Coast or a Freo, or no, it was blinkers for the Lions only?
Well, a bit of a story on it. Probably the closest I ever got was I was a really passionate West Coast fan. I think I probably told you, and so you get 2 years when you get drafted, and I generally thought I'd get the flick after 2 years, and I played a few games my first year and played a fair chunk the second year. About halfway through the second year, we come across and played West Coast at Subiaco Oval, and Mick Malthouse was still coaching 99 West Coast at that time, and I was in awe of Mick Malthouse. Yeah. But I was really, I did sprint training with Mark Neitz growing up, and a lot of us sort of did that in that era. Cuzzy was the first, and we all sort of followed suit. And he was a great guy, great influence, Mark Neitz, on a lot of us. Great sprint coach, and he helped me a lot. The knock on me was always my lack of pace. And he said to me after the carnival we had in Melbourne, the national carnival as 18-year-olds, he said, the Eagles are somewhat keen, but they want you to do a 40-metre test. So I was sort of sweating bullets the night before, thinking I've got to do really well, and didn't do well enough. And
it was a 40-minute one-on-one effectively.
Yeah,
just a special test just for you to see whether they're going to draft you.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. Nancy said, yep, we'll get the gates up and we'll time you. Anyway, long and short of it, mate, you're too slow. Unless you're there late in the draft, West Coast, not interested. So I was sort of a little bit, even the draft day, I got picked up at 31. I'm like, come on.
In hindsight, mate, it would have been probably 1 or 2 or 3, but it's easy in hindsight, isn't it?
Well, whatever. But yeah, but anyway, I'm an hour or two before the game, the players go out into the ground and have a bit of a walk around and then whatever, get a feel for it. And Mick Malthouse was 30 metres away, and he walked over and said, Blackie, would you come and play for us next year? Would you come back and play for West Coast? And I had my game head on. I was a bit sort of white line fever, and I pretty much said, Mick, you can go and get rooted, mate.
Really?
I said, no, mate, you had your chance. I'm a Brisbane boy now.
Yeah.
And then, to be honest, a year or two later, we started becoming a really strong side, and what happens then? You have ownership for the footy club. Yep. And in your mid-20s, we'd won 3 flags, lost the 4th one there, but you had real ownership for the club and the group.
It's a great thing.
I didn't want to go anywhere, and I almost felt a responsibility that some of the older boys had retired from that premiership era, that It is, yeah. That's my time now to help lead the young guys through, and I felt that and really had that through the age of 34.
And it was kind of like two parts in a way. You had the success, I suppose, in that real first, when you were younger, Blackie, and then you gave a lot back. You gave a lot back the whole time, but then you say you're giving back as you were getting older, because in a way you kind of had your time.
Yeah.
And you had to do a full rebuild, obviously, didn't you? Because after the 01, 02, 03, and then you lost, 04 to Port Adelaide, after that was a bit of a rebuilding time and tough miles, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, Mick. It really was. I mean, we had a really challenging, 12 or 15 years. Yeah, really challenged. Made some mistakes as a footy club, no doubt about that.
Yeah.
Shot ourselves in the foot a bit with some of our decisions. But, it was, I really enjoyed that phase of when a lot of the older guys retired, and, I had great admiration for, obviously, Michael Voss. And I just to play alongside him in the midfield, and just admired him enormously. But for him to retire and then sort of take that, and Nigel retire, and Acker, and
it left a big hole.
Senior responsibility. You really relished that as a young guy, and I saw that time when, as a lot of those guys left to help try to help the young guys through. We didn't get back to the heights on the ladder that we'd hoped, but It was. I enjoyed that challenge.
Still good times though. I mean, it builds the mental strength and the toughness, the tough times, doesn't it?
It does, mate. And you also learn that your capacity as a group might be to win a flag, but it also might be to finish 8th.
Yep.
And I think we had times in that post era where we almost fulfilled our capability at that time because we were so young.
Yeah, exactly. And just talking about mental health, it's obviously such a big thing these days, and a lot of the time with sportsmen and AFL players, it looks all glamorous, Blackie, and it can be, obviously, but it's not all as it seems from the outside, is it, being an AFL footballer?
No, it's certainly not, mate. I've seen it change, a lot. Like, I remember when I first arrived from pre-season, or literally walking to the club from the airport from Perth, and they handed me my Lions singlet and shorts and socks and City Rowers and my Asics running shoes and my City Rowers nightclub drink card.
There you go.
In the same bundle. And
really?
Yeah.
This is back in 97?
This is 97 December. And
wow.
And I think
that would not happen these days.
I think I wore out my drink card more than my Asics running shoes that summer. It was a bit different. But it's become obviously far more professional, and it was great to play in that era where it was professional, but it was not what it was today.
It's kind of good. You got a bit of both the eras. Yeah,
it was, mate. But
do you think the AFL and the clubs? I mean, they're doing a lot for it, but the mental health side of things, is there anything more? Is there anything more we could be doing for players these days on that side of it?
Look, I think the AFL and clubs. And the Player Association have made massive gains, and they really encourage the players today to be having, the day and a half I think it is they get to be doing something outside. They enforce it, and the well-being, I guess the welfare department of the clubs is really developed in time. So it's really on the players a lot to take ownership of that. Yeah, because if you're a really quality player and you're earning good dollars for 10 or 12 years. You can, I guess there's an argument there that you can set yourself up, but you've still got 30 years of working life ahead of you. You've still got a long time of working life if you're lucky to play to 32.
There's only a few, really, a very small percentage of AFL players that come out from their career with enough money to retire. That's probably less than 1%, right?
Yeah, I mean, and you could argue whether they can retire anyway,
Yeah.
So
life after footy, that pathway is hugely important, Blackie, isn't it?
It's massively important. It's enormous. And the earlier you get, whether it's you jump into that post-footy mentality of a study or even work experience or whatever, it's critically important and developing your network to help fall into something post your playing days. The guys that do it really well are the ones that are proactive with it and get out, and whether it's study or it's part-time work, they're the ones who... And it translates to their footy too. The ones that do that seem to play better on field too.
Yeah, we talked a bit about meditation on the way down. I've been intermittent at it and trying to do it a lot. You say you've tried that and you've done a bit of meditating over the years, Blackie?
Yeah, I did. I was lucky to come across a great mentor, Jim Cummane, when I was, mid-20s. And he sort of helped me. I found my footy mentally more harder later in my career than I did early, just like anxiety pre-game. Maybe you're sort of not the athlete you were in your 30s, and sort of I found that helped meditation post in my 30s, just to help calm and be, I guess, present, as they say. not sort of, not worked up too much. Like nerves used to really get me, even late in my career.
Yeah. And Blackie, you're an avid investor. For those that don't know, I want to talk quickly a little bit about your property journey since you came to Brisbane, and then obviously you're fairly heavily into shares. You obviously love it. There's something there that you're attached to that's not footy. Were you always into it from the very beginning?
Oh, mate, I'm not going to pretend I'm not an expert. No,
avid.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's right. Yeah,
eager.
Eager. Yeah, I guess like a lot of people, the Australian dream early days, get buy a property as a young fella, and it's been great, and my last couple of years, I guess, the share market's been learning about that a bit more, and really got involved with a labour hire company.
Okay.
Was fortunate to acquire another one through a couple of really smart guys in the business, and we floated it 3 or 4 years ago. So it's been a good journey. Yeah,
good to have a few different sources of income, as they say, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and I guess just continuing to learn. That's the thing, whether it's the property or the share space, and
don't want to be reliant on one.
And being a part, being South East Queensland, I guess at the moment, because with in your space, that the property space is ever growing, and a lot of Southerners coming up at the moment, and a lot of growth here on the Gold Coast where we are. So it's just more about just for me, I'm not for a second pretend I know too much about it, but I'm learning all the time, and I really enjoy the learning aspect of it all.
Beautiful, Blackie. And where to here? We're early 2021. Where are we? March. Where to here for Simon Black? Obviously building up the academy. Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
It's a big question, Mick.
We're going to get deep for the last little bit of the podcast here, Blackie. Told you that.
Look, just our business, our academy program, keep growing that is a big goal for the next few years, and we've got a great partner in Torrens University, so keep growing that, we've got a young family, got a 9, 7 and a 3-year-old, so we're getting them
up to speed.
Getting them up to speed on their journey.
Lachlan's going to Nudgee College next year, is he?
Yeah, he's going to grade 5, the big boy, next year.
There you go. It's exciting.
So that business, and mate, to be honest, I just really enjoy being heavily involved with them and growing my academy program, and bit of odds and ends. I do a little bit of media with the radio with Triple M for the footy, and
beautiful,
and sort of the opportunities here and there. Yeah.
Simon Black, thanks very much for joining us on the podcast this morning, my friend.
Always great to catch up with you, Mickey. Thanks for having me.
Episode 3 of the Michael Pell Podcast, the 3-time premiership player for the Brisbane Lions, Simon Black. We'll be back with the next podcast very shortly. Thanks very much for joining us.